anonymous sources, and the so-called highly likely narrative. These are tactics widely used by Western media when they need to blame Moscow but lack the evidence to do so. And Natasha Bertrand, currently working for CNN, once again proved that she's an expert here, citing some unknown European security officials who allegedly saw some Russian Navy ships in the vicinity of the Nord Stream pipeline leaks.
It's unclear whether the ships had anything to do with those explosions, these sources and others said, but it's one of the many factors that investigators will be looking into. Russian submarines were also observed not far from those areas last week, one of the intelligence officials said.
Seriously? The West gets nervous and starts screaming about Russian subs, even if they see an old tin can floating in the Baltics. Here, the information that the Russian Navy is plying the seas in Danish territorial waters appears after the incident on the pipelines and is, of course, attributed to a source, quote, familiar with the matter. Now, for example, news of American helicopters seen in the vicinity appeared a few weeks before the gas leaks. And even earlier, Americans themselves were boasting about conducting underwater drone experiments in the same area. And of course, there's Joe Biden's solemn oath to, quote, put an end to Nord Stream 2.
There will be no longer a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it.
How will you do that?
I promise you we'll be able to do it.
You'll find none of that in Ms. Bertrand's article, just the usual blame game against Russia. And it's not the first time that Natasha is doing damage control for the U.S. president. When Hunter Biden's laptop scandal was raging, she dismissed the entire story as Russian disinformation, even though some of the digital files with sensitive information were confirmed as authentic. Her anti-Russian crusade goes long back and is based on unverified information. Let's remember how eager she was to discuss the Steele dossier with anyone who would listen, trying to convince the public that Donald Trump is Moscow's maggot.
Christopher Steele wrote in late June that the Trump campaign had been receiving a regular flow of intelligence about Hillary Clinton from the Kremlin.
She admits that there is no evidence, but she enjoys fantasizing about various theories on national television. The Steele dossier, by the way, has since been discredited, but that doesn't matter, right? Well, here's another accusation, that Russians are supposedly behind the so-called Havana syndrome. That's some medical issues experienced by U.S. government officials and military personnel.
Russia is one of only a few countries that has dedicated research and development to what some experts believe could be the kind of weapon that could cause symptoms consistent with Havana syndrome. But the intelligence pointing to Russia as a possible culprit is all circumstantial, according to multiple sources familiar with the matter, making it difficult for analysts to assess with any certainty that Moscow is behind the episodes.
The CIA has since confirmed that most Havana syndrome cases are unlikely to have been caused by a foreign power. And now Ms. Bertrand wants us to believe that Russia blew up its own gas pipelines. Well, to use her wording, I could say it's unclear whether she has it in for Russia. But according to her articles and numerous TV appearances, it seems that she, in fact, does.
When one huge media outlet makes such a speculative report, as CNN did, then others will copy it, and the others may not even insert the nuances into their pieces as the CNN journalist did at the end. At least the journalist admitted that those Russian ships were always there. So really, he shot himself in the foot. He basically said, I've got no news for you. This is, nonsense, this article. But unfortunately, we're living in an age now where we're replicating what British journalists called churnalism is really now the main thing, and so it's very dangerous when outlets of that size put out such information. It's all too common for Western media to rush ahead and just copy and paste these mistakes, and then not really care about the integrity of what they're doing. It's becoming more and more common.